What if Yuji and Megumi had a fight to the death but at full potential? Well, in this video, you'll find the answer to that question. The way this video will be structured is first putting 2K sliders on both Yuji and Megumi and showing the max version of these characters and what would happen in a hypothetical matchup between the two. With this being a new style video, if you enjoy, obviously drop a like and all that good stuff. And let's start off with 99 rating Megumi Fushiguro. Now the strongest 10 shadows user, what would that look like? Well, fortunately Sukuna already gave us a guide path to how crazy the 10 shadows can be. Now I'll be using basically some of the things Sukuna did, as well as the max version of Megumi, as well as my own imagination and stuff I'd like to see. So first the Shikigami. In this instance, I'm boosting Megumi's curse energy reserves to Sukuna. I will also be doing the exact same for Yuji. But Megumi in general has demonstrated a good capacity before the Sukuna stimulus package, being able to summon a domain and summon Mahoraga and fight throughout the entire Shibuya highlighted his curse energy reserves are already pretty good, especially for a sorcerer who is nowhere near his max potential. But as a byproduct, we will see Megumi summon a Godzilla new way and will have whatever version of the Mahoraga that was shown on the anime, because that Mahoraga is on crack. But for the most part, he'll have the knowledge to make totalities, be able to manifest a technique to prevent them from dying, and can have stronger Shikigami as his curse energy proficiency and reinforcement will be a lot higher. Now this is where we add more of the twist. Now I don't know if this is possible because the fact Sukuna never did it means it might not be able to be done, but Megumi using curse technique reversal to summon his Shikigami in the light instead of the shadows as a medium could be pretty cool, meaning he could summon them in more advantageous spots to get the jump on people. To make it even more interesting, they have the inverse of the current Shikigami ability. So Noe would have some earth ability, Max of Elephant would be a fire ability, and Mahoraga instead of adapting would be disorder, which would cause whatever it gets into contact to go haywire. Kinda like Golden Experience where their nerves go crazy. Now of course his domain would be complete, with everybody guessing what it would do. I'm giving Megumi an open domain because, well, I like him. Not only that, but it feels as if he has the path set up for him, with both Kenjaku and Sukuna having a structure at the center of the domain, with Megumi's spine still yet to be formed. This will allow him to unlock the secret Shikigami, the Gaku Shodo, which is basically an unkillable Shikigami that can only be used in the domain as a counter. You will also have the opportunity to summon multiple versions of Shikigami and the ability to make clones of himself, which will just make him an utter powerhouse. The final thing is you'll have an access to the 3 sacred treasures, and this will only work once a 10 shadows user has completely tamed Mahoraga and completed their domain. Now one was a sword called the Kusanagi no Tsurugi that Susanoo passed through Amaterasu. So I decided to give Megumi a sword with black flames, which would allow him to use Amaterasu and basically get Skatensho his way through the opposition. The streets are saying this is a real black blade and Shanks has been in contact so he could fight a real sword user Mihawk. Second, we then have the Mirror Yato no Kagami, which is said to reflect an image back at someone. In this instance, it will work exactly like Mirror Force, where it will send the attack back at the user, but they have to react in time. Third is the Magatama, and now listen, if I butchered any of these Japanese words, you're just gonna have to allow it because man doesn't speak Japanese. And since these are jewels, and the 10th shadow is seen as a treasure, it's basically a free revive of his entire Shikigami that could only be used once a day, and with how many of the jewels he has. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this one was hard to think of, so this was the best I could do, so don't judge me too much. But this will be the complete version of Megumi Fushiguro, the strongest 10 shadows user ever. And now to his opponent, Yuji Itadori. Now you're probably thinking, why did I make Megumi so broken? Well, it's because Yuji is going to be even more broken, with the fact that he has access to blood manipulation, Sukuna's curse technique, and his own weird genetic makeup, as well as his already soul punches to really force a Yuji agenda. First, let's start with the genetic makeup as a vessel, which I'm going to pretend is because he's a death painting, which will allow him to basically bypass through the biggest weakness of blood manipulation. Not only this, he still has his uniquely HR type body when he's abnormally strong. This makeup is in character with his freakishly strong powers, and is the best I can do without making an essay worth theory on his actual makeup that Gege will reveal later on in the story. So first let's start with Sukuna's curse technique. Well, we don't even know what it is, but we do know he does have cleave and dismantle and the fire arrow. Now Yuji will be inheriting both in this situation, but this is the best we can do as we're still awaiting a shrine reveal. Now onto blood manipulation. I'm basically going to steal the ideas I made in this Yuji potential video to highlight how cool his abilities could be. Also going to be stealing a heavy mount from Choso in the anime. because he opened my mind to the real capabilities of blood manipulation. I'm not gonna lie, Kamo, you're lacking because I can't even steal anything from you because what have you shown us? But to tailor this to Yuji's current fighting style, his ability to conjure weapons out of blood will be the main focus of his arsenal, meaning he can create daggers and swords, and specifically I'd like to see Yuji wield a dual wield daggers, which I think would look pretty raw. Now, using the death paintings and speculating their potential abilities that Yuji can inhabit after he ate his brothers, which is still pretty crazy to think that he really did yam all his brothers. Tonso, this will allow him to conjure animals made out of blood. It will be a nice counter to Megumi Shikigami. It will see his main animal be a tiger, because I believe he was called the Tiger of Northwest or something like that. I don't remember the specifics. He then has the Katusoro, will allow him to harden his limbs, giving him an increased sense of durability, and basically works like Convergence but to a greater scale. Sanso, body parts being scattered, which means like Choso being able to overextend his arm, he'll be able to manipulate his limbs and basically make him a blood version of Luffy pre-Gear 5. And to top it all off with the stuff Choso used in the anime wise and manga wise to show he's a serious blood bender. The final secret ability would be able to blood bend like Katara. However, since this does control the other user, to make it a less broken, the restriction is that you can't harm the user and can only be controlled for about 5 seconds. And if the other user has a higher reinforcement and output, then the technique will not work. Then finally we'll have ICT, as he does in the manga, and he'll have a domain expansion for his blood technique. And then his current soul punches, which could reduce the output, which is pretty stacked. Yuji's domain would be called Requiem of the Fallen, in which he can explode blood vessels in the user and gains an infinite amount of blood to attack the opponent. Now the 299 rating Jujutsu sorcerers will face against each other, and who would come out on top? The way I'll structure this is just to match up their abilities and kind of theorize who have the better base stats from each person. So speed, it will most definitely be Yuji, as his genetic makeup and he makes him far superior than anything Megumi can do, as he's a physical monster. And durability also goes to Yuji. As I said, he has the physical makeup, and from feats wise he has numerous showings that his durability, regardless of Megumi's increase in reinforcement, for him to compare. I mean, even just from a speed perspective, him keeping up with Maki in the fight against Sukuna really just shows that his current base stats is just far ahead of Megumi. There is no real argument for them to be ahead. AP, it could go either way, because Yuji having Shrine, so the Fire Arrow and Cleave and Dismantle, that's a very overpowering technique. However, with the Black Blade Flames that Megumi has, which should work very similar, it could cancel out, but I'll definitely give it to Yuji. Hacks would go to Megumi, the 3 Sacred Treasures plus the Gaku Shodo, Mahuraga being able to not only adapt but disorder, makes an overwhelming bag of hacks that Yuji just cannot compete, and specifically with his abilities of his Shikigami giving him inverse of their abilities, really in total gives him a very versatile bag. IQ Megumi probably his greatest strength, and throughout the series has been very tactical fighter who can overpower people and even in bad situations. But how will this lead to a matchup? In terms of a domain clash, Megumi has already shown to be far more experienced in domains, that even though an open domain doesn't guarantee a win, he must definitely have the stronger barrier and short hit, which is a major win con for Megumi. However, the short hits we can say are somewhat close to each other, just to make sure that one person isn't watching the other. In terms of physicals, Yuji's a lot more overpowering, and with his now added abilities, it could make him an extremely dangerous fighter, which would give Yuji a significant advantage. However, with Megumi's entire arsenal of Mirror Force, being able to receive his Shikigami and even inverse the abilities, even be able to partially manifest them to prevent them from dying, create totalities, and he has enough to deal with the physical menace as we see multiple times in the series. The perfect example is Toji, but yes, he was outclassed and outmatched, he was able to make moves that can keep him alive in a matchup where he should have no chance of competing, which is a testament to his IQ. However, Megumi lacks enough attack power to put down Yuji, whose inherent durability is crazy, and to pair this with the ability to harden his body and curse energy reserves, it makes it very difficult for Megumi, bar the use of his domain and Mahuraga and obviously the Black Flames. One thing that goes to Megumi is his versatility. He's a lot better than Yuji, with his curse technique reversals, meaning his Shikigami are a lot more threatening than usual. More than just that, Max Elephant can be extremely important to ruining blood manipulation, as Yuji did against Choso in Shibuya. However, with Yuji having Cleave and Dismantle, Megumi 1 can't see the attack, and 2 doesn't have much to really counter against them, even with RCT. It's a very overwhelming technique to deal with, which means Megumi's tactical prowess has to be at its peak. And the best thing about that is the clash is their styles are so different, with Yuji being very straight to the point and brawlish. But Megumi can take advantage of that weakness and force Yuji into a domain expansion, or somewhere in a place where he can take advantage of blood manipulation and maneuver him in a way that is advantageous to Megumi. Overall, the abilities without actually seeing them is very hard to match up, but I believe it would be a very interesting matchup, which would be an extreme difficult clash. But what you want to know is who will win. In my opinion, Yuji wins 6 out of 10 times, for the simple fact that he has more lethal techniques, and the fact his domain won't be taken away instantaneously means he has a chance to fight back while their sure hits clash. Not only that, but his durability is pretty crazy, that only from aside from a very few abilities, which are a huge threat to Yuji, he should have enough to be able to power through. If it's just pain, Yuji Itadori won't stop, which just puts him to a nice advantage. But once the domain has landed, Yuji is cooked, because getting swarmed by an invincible Shikigami, Maharaga, and the multiple Shikigamis as well as Megumi clones is way too much for any sorcerer to deal with. Overall, I really had great fun moving these people to basically their max stats. I've been very inspired from Gojo vs Sukuna, where we did get to see the two pinnacle go against each other. It's kind of difficult to really do their matchups because we can't really compare their feats with the fact that we're using hypothetical versions of them, and the matchup of their abilities is a little difficult to do because you don't really know how they will go in totality. However, honestly, this was a very fun video. If you enjoyed this, let me know down below your thoughts and any critiques that you have. And if you have any other matchups you'd like me to do for me to make their full potential and match up against each other, let me know down below. And do you agree that Yuji wins or Megumi wins? And what was your favorite ability that you got from the two? But thank you guys for watching.